here myself from the University of Brighton, back again to move motion 34. Comrades and friends, I want to start by thanking those who prioritised this motion and also thanks to West Sussex branch who produced an amendment. Nobody here needs me to spell out how cuts to public funding have impacted our ability to deliver services and impacted the jobs and well-being of all our members. The general trend over the last 50 years or so has been successive cuts to services and increased enrichment of the already super rich. Current Labour policy relies on the rich making profits first so that we can then afford decent services. But the super rich are laughing all the way to the banks that they own. The UK has 156 billionaires, that's risen from just 15 in 1990. £773 billion hoarded by the 350 richest individuals, and the 50 richest families in the UK have as much as the poorest half of British society. While the wealth of the obscenely rich has gone through the roof, our members have seen increased impoverishment. It is true that 14 years of a Tory government have shifted more wealth to the rich, created in large by the unpaid labour of the working class both in Britain and across the planet. But we believe it's also true that nearly 1 year of a Labour government has not yet begun to adequately address the dire state of public services. We've seen an apparent end to austerity, with money promised to house builders and arms manufacturers, but we've seen nothing like the kind of bailout that we need, and no significant attempt to shift things meaningfully in our favour. Conference, our job is to determine what our members need and then go out and fight for it. And if a Labour government does something positive, of course that's great. But we've got to be honest with ourselves, our members and our class. The positives are outnumbered by the negatives, and they in turn are overwhelmed by the missed opportunities. A Labour government, supported by 6 million trade union members, could start to tax the rich and the wealth appropriately. It could ramp up corporation tax, shift investment away from guns and bombs towards schools and hospitals. It could provide free childcare. It could fund higher education properly and abolish tuition fees. It could take into public ownership all the utilities, transport, everything outsourced, privatised and flogged off on the cheap by Thatcher, Major, Blair, Brown and Johnson. It could run services for the benefit of all, with not just the rich making a profit. It could introduce genuine democratic workers' control and plan the economy effectively and efficiently. And it could repeal now all the anti-trade union laws that mean that we can no more effectively campaign for justice, for decent pay and pensions. Conference, we do recognise some of the positive measures outlined in the Employment Relations Bill and the efforts made by our union to secure them over the years, if they ever become law. But we've got to be honest. Based on the evidence so far, this government is more interested in anti-immigrant sentiment as a false method of trying to beat Reform UK than it is allowing us the tools that we need to fight back. Our starting point is, what do our members need? Anything less than a major shift in wealth and power from the super rich to the working class is inadequate. Our members understand that, but as long as we cling to politicians which offer no solution to the problems that we face and offer no positive vision for the future, they're going to lose heart. Conference, we believe we have a historic opportunity. We set out the hopes and aspirations of our members without the straitjacket of having to empower capital to grow the capitalist economy, and we formulate a strategy to fight for it. Part of that is a political battle where we put our case, not to the handful of billionaires and bankers, but to the millions of workers crying out for an alternative, and some of them turning to Farage for that alternative. And of course we'll be told that none of this is affordable, and it isn't affordable if you're looking for a capitalist solution. But since when has the market ever solved our problems? Is the parasites creaming off the profits for themselves, increasingly looking to make money out of inadequate service provision based on exploitation and poverty wages that are the problem? Our aspirations are higher than the least bad option. We're setting our sights on a socialist solution to the problems faced by working people. Capital has failed to guarantee a decent standard of living for all but a handful. If Labour can't or won't advocate a genuine shift in wealth and power, then we'll have to do it. And when the party of the working class comes into being, that's when, not if, our movement will have to make a choice. Support those who fight for our policies, or cling to the past politicians as they let us down again. Conference, when we pass this motion, let's make sure we're clear about what our policy is and what we expect. We expect a campaign, not just a few lines on the website, but a positive campaign that puts pressure on the government and tells our members what we're doing. Let's demand public services that we can be proud for, run for us by everyone. Conference, it's been an absolute privilege to be able to move this motion, but let's just not pass it as a nice idea. A major crisis requires a major response. Let's deliver that response with the active involvement of 1.3 million working people. Please support the motion.
Can I call the move of the amendment?